Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Paranormal Q&A with Jack, Kenna, and
Carly Hall.
Carly Hall. So, just wonder how everybody's doing out there tonight. Hope everything's good with everybody. I'm sure we'll have some people chiming in here shortly. It's quiet at the moment, but they'll hop on, I'm sure, unless they don't like us anymore. It's a possibility.
Barry will be here.
Especially after my last night's thing. So.
Oh gosh, was it that bad?
No, we just talked about something that was kind of, controversial topic. Hello, Billy Sims. Hello, Carl Mitchell. Jimmy Ricker. How you doing out there? So we got some people hopping in.
Awesome.
So if you haven't been here before, what we're all about is just answering your questions about the paranormal. Any questions you got? Anything you want to say? So how's your week been, Carly? I heard you... Hey, Bob Burnell. You told me you made a new rank level in your stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
On gaming on Twitch.
Yeah, so I'm now platinum rank in Apex Legends, and which took a lot of hard work to get to, and we came in first place for our tournament on Saturday.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's awesome. Oh, Karen out there. Yeah, because you're actually doing this professional level now, correct?
Yeah.
Very cool. So nothing too new here. I was on Dead Air last night with Ken DeCosta and George. Oh my God, I forgot George's last name. Anyway, so I was on their show last night. We had a lot of fun. We had a big discussion about the term expert in the paranormal and how some people get really upset about that. And,
there are no experts. I don't know.
Well, my opinion. It was a topic of discussion. Is there or isn't there? We talked about a lot of stuff about that. Anyways, so that's what that was all about last night. And it was interesting. It was an interesting discussion from both sides of the coin there. George Lopez. That's who is the co-host and stuff is.
Oh, nice.
So Ken DeCosta and George Lopez. I should remember George's last name. I've met him before. Barry Martz, how you doing out there? So, Cheryl's here. Cheryl Brookshire.
He's named after an actor, George Lopez.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, he is. Maybe he is the actor and we just didn't tell you that.
No, that would have been really cool, man.
No, it's not the actor. Keith Bailey is here tonight. How you doing out there, Keith? So, but yeah, that was a topic of discussion, and we had a good discussion about it. I mean, I am called that on shows that I'm on as a paranormal expert, but that's because I have no choice in that. That's what the shows call you, because the shows feel like gives their shows credibility by saying they have experts on, quote, experts. But we get into all that and what defines it, what is the definition of expert and all that good stuff. So anyways, it was interesting. But here tonight, we're here to answer your guys' questions out there about all things paranormal. If we can. We try. Sometimes the people in the chat room can answer your question if you have one. So it's always a good thing. Ken LeBlond, how you doing out there? I haven't seen you in a long time. Bob Maloney is out there. All our friends, Carl.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll be able to see some at some events this year too.
That would be nice.
You'll see some down at the Battlefield Bash or at Which City Parafest in November, which is up in Salem, Massachusetts. That's our Spirits of New England is major sponsors for that event this year, which is pretty cool. We're excited about that. So if you got any questions first, throw them out there. Otherwise, we're just sitting here talking to ourselves about whatever. I hope everybody else is doing okay out there. Ken says he's doing okay, hoping to get investigating in the future. Yes, we've actually had a couple investigations we've done now that we've been vaccinated and stuff. So nothing too major, just a couple residential cases that were nothing major. That was to the people, I guess, but it turned out to be family members that were there. So, but they were happy. I mean, we found out some stuff for them, and that was good. They had
very
some fun
heartwarming.
learning. Yeah, and they had some fun learning some stuff from us too. So
yeah, I love those cases because it's like positive. You know what I mean? Like,
right, exactly. I will be on. I think in the next 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks. I did some. Well, I did filming for Ken DaCosta for his show he's doing on YouTube, his YouTube show, channel show. So I covered something that investigation we did, and just some evidence we captured of shadow figures at the Fairbanks house in Dedham, Massachusetts. I had to stop and think for a second. So I covered that, and I think Ellen's going to be doing one with him too for the USS Constitution and the light anomaly we caught there. I think she's going to be doing that one with him. So that'll be in the next few weeks, I guess. Ken said he's hoping to get it done in the next few weeks, and it'll be like in 3 weeks. My episode will be on.
nice.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, yeah, he does like 3 segments, so I'll be one segment in that episode. So it's just pretty cool. He's doing a really good job with it, what he's doing there. I like it. So, hey, Carly Hall, Chase says hi.
Hi,
so
Chase.
Keith is letting you know. So, yes, hello out there, Chase. So,
he's a cool
Candace
kid.
Weston is in.
Hi, Candace. Chase is a cool kid. I like investigating with him. That was fun.
And Aaron Grove says hi to us. Oh, Aaron.
Hi, Aaron.
So we got a few things coming up that's going on. I actually have another interview I'll be doing coming up here too. Not sure when I just responded to the woman today. She asked, they do like an educational interviews. I'm not the first one. Krista Chesray has been interviewed by this group of people, and so has oh my God, there's quite a few actually. Michelle Bellinger, and who was the anyways, there's quite a few. Some people from Ghost Hunters, stuff like that. So I'm kind of excited they asked me to interview for their show that they do too. So it's pretty cool. And they're all talking to each other.
That's really cool.
Mike, Carly. Yeah, it'll be fun. I think it'll be fun. And it looks like they're talking between each other out there. I forget. Karen says something about, forgot now, was there a potential for elementals there? Don't know what she. Bob Burnell, they're talking about, we're going next month. Really looking forward to it. Can't wait to see family and friends at the Bash. Yes, that's true, Keith. Yes, we will see everybody at the Bash again this year. And I don't know if that's what they were talking about, the Bash, investigating at the Bash. Because they do that every year. They do an investigation. They go out and investigate at the Bash. I have never gone along because by the time night comes, I'm just like, I want to chill. So I stay at the hotel. As you know.
Yeah. You and I,
when
we travel like that, and when we because that's a long drive for us. We're like old people. We like going to bed by like 8 or 9 o'clock, and we just lay there and just like be vegetables for like a couple hours before we go to bed.
Exactly. And Candace, we don't do a topic on this show. Our topic is you ask the questions, we try to answer them for you. So if you guys got no questions tonight, it's going to be a real boring show. I'm just going to talk about stuff we got planned to come up. This is a show that doesn't lay out a format. We do not. The format is you people and your questions. That's the whole format.
Yeah.
So that's what we do here. So Candace, if you got some questions, or even if you got something you want to talk about from your own show coming up, I know you're not doing this Thursday, but if you got anything you want to talk about, feel free to bring it up. Oh, Karen says, Bob and I were talking about a case. What's your experience with investigating possible elementals? I have investigated cases that involved elementals, actually, several, actually. One was in Mendon, not Mendon. Yes, it was Mendon, Massachusetts. Yes, sorry, it was Mendon. There was an elemental spirit there at the old library there in Mendon, Mass, and found, well, there is elemental spirits out at. We've investigated there a few times down at the Hinsdale House. There's elementals there.
That was a really cool experience.
Yes. And I do believe I've run into an elemental spirit while going on a group investigation out in Salem, Massachusetts. I'm pretty sure that's an elemental spirit that's in that area. And it's kind of interesting because there's different ways of it. But actually, in quite a few, like probably five cases, I've run into elemental spirits, where what happens is we tell the people, put out offerings to these spirits, because they're part of the earth. So if you put out offerings of like honey and fruits and vegetables all in one little tray and you leave it out, it'll actually diminish fairly quickly. You'll actually maybe even see honey that you leave out kind of disappear, which it shouldn't. It should crystallize, but it shouldn't necessarily unless an animal's coming by. But fruits will wither fairly quickly, like within a couple days. They're drawing the energy from it, but it's an offering to them, and let you know it's an offering, and you will find that activity will subside. Because they don't like us humans very much. But if we do offerings to them and you plant gardens and things like that in your yard, you actually can appease them, because that's what they're about, is the environment. So, Karen, I hope that kind of answers your questions. But yes, we have had some.
We had a really good experience, or the one elemental experience that I had was at the Hinsdale house. And that is going to stick with me forever, because I was sitting in the house when you were over at the prayer tree with a couple other people from our Hudson Valley class. We all took a trip over there to investigate. And I was sitting in the living room talking to the elemental spirit that was there, asking questions, like educational questions, because why not? You better to get an answer from them directly, I guess, and just go from there, right? So
absolutely.
I was asking questions about like different types of elementals and just confirming different facts and stuff. And then a bunch of words started coming across the Ghost Radar app that was talking about you guys at the prayer tree, and that I needed to go to the prayer tree like now, pretty much. And I was like, oh my God, like what's going on? Like, is there an emergency? Like what? So I go up there and you guys had just started experiencing something really cool at the prayer tree.
Yeah.
That had just started. Yeah.
Yeah, we had some actually scratching and stuff going on a tree near us. Me and guy Mike and two other people were with us at the time, and you could hear something scratching on the tree, like claws scratching it. And we looked around. It wasn't branches. It wasn't anything. There really wasn't any wind that night. So we're trying to figure it out, but we'd ask like question or we'd say something, you'd get that. So it was kind of weird. And Candace, I will never send you Carly Hall in a box. I'm just not going to ship her. It's too dangerous. She might die. And as for your next question, what would be your next ideal case to work? Any case where I can investigate with you and Carly Hall. That would be my ideal case. Have the both of you on an investigation with me. It doesn't matter what case it is. That would be my ideal case. So there you go. I don't know what my ideal case would be. That would actually be my ideal case. I have two people I trust and who I know are good investigators with me to investigate.
And I get to meet Candace in the face.
You get to meet Candace.
In the flesh.
Yeah. She gets to meet you.
Yeah,
in the flesh, face to face. But I mean, I don't think there is any real ideal case. I mean, you just get what, the cards deal you. So you do. So.
You get placed where you're supposed to be placed, and you got to deal with it.
That's right. I mean, yeah, and maybe that's the ideal case, is you're where you need to be. So you're where you are needed. That's the ideal case. And as long as I'm always where I'm needed, then that's the ideal case. Vicky asks, have you ever had a spirit attached to you after an investigation? I think both of us can answer yes to that question. It happened to me in Mendon, Massachusetts, where actually the attachment, I believe, had to do with an car accident I had on the way home. Nothing terrible, except for my car got really bashed up and took a week to repair it. So, but it had to do with a spirit that was trying to connect with us at the location, and he had nothing to do with the location. He had been killed a mile down the road, and we actually went through all this and we figured it out. Actually, that week gave me the time to go over all the audio, video, and stuff. And in doing some research online, I kept coming across this guy who was killed in an accident less than a mile from the location we had been investigating. He was killed instantly. The old library looks like a church, and he was a very religious man. He came from the old country. He came here to the U.S., became a citizen, and everything else. So he was an immigrant. Built a great business for himself, and then got killed in this accident. Yeah. Freak accident with a young girl who had just graduated high school, and it was even during the day. She was going out to see a friend of hers, and she came around this blind corner, and he was parked there near the boat marina, and his boat was too big to bring into the road, so him and the guy from the marina were looking at it alongside the road. He happened to be standing out a little too far. She came around that blind corner and hit him, killed him instantly. But we had a name of an individual. We had, and it turned out to be somebody who witnessed the accident and saw the guy get hit. It was a witness from across the road. Guy who lived across the road actually saw it. His name, that individual's name, actually came up. Police came up. Hit came up. Pain came up. All these different things that when I put the different stuff in the search terms, especially the name and accident, because accident came up. So I put the guy's name, accident, Mendon, Mass, and this guy's article on this guy's accident kept coming up. And I would change it around. It would still come up. So, yeah, I had an attachment there. But it was for a good reason, I guess, in the end, because we were able to cross him over when we went back. But it just cost me financially. That's all I can tell you.
A front bumper.
That's all I can tell you. No, I didn't get hurt. Nobody got killed, but that's it. And Carly can tell you about attachments she had from an investigation we were doing.
Oh God, that was semi-funny. It was funny now. It wasn't funny then, but So we were doing a client case, and I had done a Reiki session on the client, and I had gotten rid of the attachment, but I did not go toward enough to protect myself. So I was more concerned with the client than I was with myself, and I was naive and didn't realize that this could happen, but it did. So we finished with the client after a few hours, and we got back home. Or this was the time you stayed at your house and I stayed at my apartment. Nice. And I think it was around midnight, and I had just gotten out of the shower and I was getting ready for bed, and I heard somebody come up the stairs. So there's the bathroom, the kitchen, and then the stairs into the apartment. And I heard somebody come up the stairs and open the door and close the door. And I heard walking through the kitchen, and I saw feet going under the bathroom door into the living room.
Right.
And I was like, oh, it must be Jack. He must have forgotten something or whatever, from the investigation. And so I texted him, and I was like, hey, did you forget something? Ha ha ha. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you're here in the apartment. Did you forget something? I'll be out there in a moment. I'll grab it for you. And earlier I was yelling oh, hey, I'll be there in a sec. And no answer, obviously. So that was kind of weird. But you were like, I'm in bed. And sent me a picture of you in bed, and I'm like, don't mess with me, dude. Don't. No. And I look outside. I peek out of my door in my bathroom, and there sitting in our dining table living room area is this old guy that I would remove the attachment from. or removed. He was the attachment, and I was like, "Ha, okay."
Follow her home.
Yep. And I ran to the bathroom really quickly in my towel, and I literally called him, and I was like, "Dude, this guy's not gonna leave. Like, he's a misogynistic, like, butthole. Like, he's not gonna want to leave." So I threw the phone in the living room, or put it on speaker, threw it in the living room, and you told him to go away.
Yeah, I yelled at him. Actually, I yelled at
Yep.
him. So get the hell out of there, or I'll come over and kick you out. It
Like,
actually worked. He
oh
left.
God.
So, sometimes that's all it takes. Now that's a human spirit. So,
Yeah.
When confronted, they usually will back off. So,
And we've had moments where we've woken up tired and stuff, and like we've had to have Michelle peep in and give a little cleansing and attachment removal and stuff.
Michelle Durocher, we're talking about.
Yeah. So
which works.
Yeah.
So that's our experience. 2 of our experiences with having attachments. Here's from Steve White. Question for both of you: have you ever experienced a spirit that was possibly shape-shifting? I have not.
You have. You have. Remember that mirror?
Shape-shifting?
Remember that mirror? With the milky substance on it? With the different prints on the floor?
That was a shape-shift. Well, yes, technically it was, but I didn't witness it.
No, but there's no way they could have done that on the floor. Like, that was perfect.
No, that's true. The footprints, we had a case where up in Glens Falls area where a little girl had, and she was little. She was, 8 years old?
Yeah. And
her cousin or whatever ended up using a Ouija board app on their iPhone, and something came through the mirror in her room. And funny thing was, her mother sent me a picture of this dark figure in the mirror, and we went and we debunked that, or we tried to debunk it, and it's like I couldn't. This dark shadow figure was between her and the mirror when she took the photo.
It was like in the mirror.
Yeah, it may almost, to me, it seemed like it was actually not quite in the mirror. It was almost like out of the mirror, but it was definitely there in front, or in the front towards, or in the mirror, one or the other. Because we tried to recreate it and we couldn't. It was in a lit room looking at the mirror, and it actually blocked her out. Like, if you stood where she was taking the picture, you could see yourself in that mirror. You could not see her in the photo. There's not even the flash, nothing. Yeah. So it was very interesting and intriguing. And she said there was like footprints that came out from the mirror, looked like this milky substance. When we looked at it, they actually changed from, it looked like some kind of animal into human footprints.
I remember it. It literally was a wolf, like a dog paw print, to a hoof, to a human child foot, like small foot. And it went to under the bed. Like, it crawled. It like looks like it fell out of the mirror, and then walked
stepped out of the mirror
or something, and then it.
Yeah, because that milky substance was on the mirror too, which was kind of weird. And it wasn't, as far as I could tell, it wasn't milk. I don't know what it was.
It didn't smell like anything.
No, it felt kind of chalky to the touch, actually. Yeah. So it was very strange, very odd. So yes, I guess we did experience that. And yes, that would be shape-shifting. That would be shifting. And it turned out to be a demonic entity. And they actually called in their minister, who called in a Catholic priest and did an exorcism on that. We did one ourselves, and it helped a little bit, but they actually called in a Catholic priest because they're Catholic, and had him do an actual exorcism of the house. That seemed to resolve the issue. So it's good. It works out. I actually even had talked to her minister at one point, and we agreed that probably would be the best route to go. I told him what we had done and all that, but still, So he actually there's a photo that I took. I didn't notice it. It was actually Michelle Durocher that I passed it along to look at, and she noticed a shadow figure up in this one area that I had not caught. I had not seen it in the photo myself. She picked it out. So it's always, my point there is always good to have other eyes looking at some of your photos just to be on the safe side. And once she pointed out to me, it's like, holy crap, yeah, that is a shadow of a guy. and a guy had killed himself in that room. So
yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, because that was the one
from
where
a previous owner of the mansion.
it was above the garage.
It was a mansion that we.
Yeah.
He hung himself from that room, and I think that's who that was. So there's quite a few things going on. So next question is from Karen. We'll get through the questions here. I'm just going through in order here. How can you tell a difference if you're dealing with elementals versus human spirits? Do you approach it differently? Karen, yes, you can tell the difference when with a haunting, but it takes time to figure it out. You don't figure it out immediately. Well, I shouldn't say that. Sometimes you can. After a full night's investigation, sometimes you can get a handle on maybe you're dealing with an elemental spirit versus a human spirit. It depends on the activity. It depends on the evidence, but you got to review your evidence first after the investigation. You may even need to go back a second time or even a third time to really get a good handle on it. And with elemental spirits, it's one thing to remember is they're not demonic. They're not evil. God created them. They are of God. So you can't exorcise them from a property because they were created by God. So they're of God. Okay. They're a positive thing for the earth, right? They don't necessarily like us humans too much because we don't do a good job of taking care of it. But that's what I was talking about before. When you're dealing with what you determine to be an elemental, which can be confusing for people between elementals and demons. They are two completely different things. They can seem similar but the difference is an elemental will be very threatening to maybe people in the location, but nobody ever really gets hurt. It's usually things they do to try to drive the people out of the location. They want them to leave. They don't really want to hurt them, but they want them to leave. And so they may temporarily possess them just to freak them out. But they won't. They're not trying to possess them to be permanently possessing them. It won't be that kind of thing where you start thinking about thoughts of suicide or depression or things like that. But that's usually a demonic. They're trying to take possession of you and destroy your family, try to get you to commit suicide, the person they're focusing on. But elementals don't do that. They will do scary things. You'll see knives thrown across a room, pictures slammed and broken, different things, objects broken. But it's to get you to leave, not to harm you personally. So you got to figure that out. So it takes time to figure that out. With a human spirit, you won't get that kind of activity always going on. It won't be as, at least in my experience, it won't be as prominent. Like you won't get a lot of poltergeist type of activity with a human spirit. You can, but not as much as like with an elemental type spirit. They're much stronger. They can make a lot louder noises, footsteps, things like that, like banging, crashing, in response to questions. Human spirits don't have that kind of energy, so they can't do that kind of stuff. Not as loud as what I've experienced with elementals. So you can figure it out. And then the approach between the two is an elemental, you can't really get rid of it, but you can try to appease it. Like I talked about earlier, giving it offerings of fruit, vegetables, beer, actually, even. You put this all out on one tray for them or one plate. You put it outside. You speak to them. You let them know this is an offering to them. You plant flowers or a garden in your yard to reach out to them that way. You let them know it's for them and all that. And that's how you deal with an elemental. And that usually will help calm things down. With a human spirit, obviously, if they're causing people problems, you don't want them there anymore. Or they need to realize they need to get along with these people, so they need to keep themselves and leave the people there alone, or they need to leave, or you can try to cross them over, things like that. So those are the differences, kind of basic differences between dealing with an elemental or identifying an elemental and a human haunting and dealing with those two hauntings. That's, basics of it. So, I mean, we could get into I could do a whole hour just on that. I mean, we've answered this question a lot, but I'll put it out here because Vicky is asking. What would you say was the most scary experience you each have had throughout your investigation or in your lives? We know what Carly's is. Watch her episode of Paranormal Survivor. She dealt with how many years demonic?
Yeah, altogether it was 10 years, but
yeah. With oppression, depression, thoughts of suicide, seeing these things, there's a whole ton of stuff to hers.
Obsession.
Yeah. I mean, I guess mine was what happened to me when I was 17, and I had this experience in my home, which was also on a show. I told my origin story on a show. I think it was called My Scariest.
My Worst Nightmare or My Paranormal
My Worst Nightmare? Yeah, I think My Worst. Yeah, no, not My Worst Nightmare.
My Paranormal Nightmare or something like that.
Paranormal Nightmare, I think is what it was called. I did a show, My Worst Nightmare. That was a whole other thing.
That was the 8-hour interview that was in Canada.
Yeah, the 8.5 or whatever it was.
That was your worst nightmare.
Here in the US. That was My Worst Nightmares, answering the questions for that show.
Oh, Lord.
My Paranormal Nightmare I did. It's on the Travel Channel. So you can catch it there. Because I know they're showing a lot of stuff this week. I know Haunted Case Files was playing today and stuff. I never watched myself. I watched myself the first time on each one of those shows. I never watched myself again. I do watch the shows, but my other friends' cases who I know from that show. I don't look at my own. Once mine comes out, I was like, switch channel. And mine again was when I was 17 and something happened to me, and that's where that story goes. And I got out of the paranormal, so it was so frightening to me. And it had to do with the demonic and something I believe that was also angelic. That all happened within a night or a few hours. And it was a very frightening experience and life-changing experience. And I actually left the paranormal stuff behind me because of that. I didn't get back into the paranormal until I was in my 40s, and Ghost Hunters came back on. It rekindled my interest, and I actually forgotten about that experience because I pushed it so far out. But that, when I had it, finally, they asked me my origin story, and I got thinking about it. And actually, when it reminded me of it was when I saw Zach Bagans' documentary he did on the Demon House, and he showed this spirit, this demonic thing that he said he had seen in his dream, nightmare, whatever you want to call it. And it was the exact same thing I saw when I was 17. That thing he shows you with the horns and all that, that's what I saw when I was 17 in my house coming after me. And that was it. And something else, angelic, kind of saved me from that and said, you have things to do. And I heard that demonic thing scream, and it was gone. I never saw it again. And that's what I said, that's it. I'm done with it. I don't want anything to do with this stuff anymore. Again, until I got my 40s and Ghost Hunters came on it, because I had forgotten about it. So, but that whole thing was kind of funny, because when I saw Zach Bagans' show, that documentary, it was only a week later that I get a call from Our House Media asking me if I want to tell my origin story. It's like, yeah, okay, might as well. Somebody's telling me I need to tell it. So that was my scariest thing. And Barry says, do you remember of the possibility of an elemental? Yes, I talked about that just a little while ago. There is an elemental spirit there. I have no doubt about that. It sometimes will appear as a shadow figure, as a groundhog. And Dan Class could tell you this. They've caught it on camera. Something that looks like a groundhog coming in and out of the couch in the living room. It's just a dark shadow figure.
Groundhog or raccoon?
And that was the groundhog, he said. And then in the kitchen, he posted one where they said, see, this looks like a dog. The minute I looked at it, I said, that's a raccoon. That looks like exactly that, but it's just a dark shadow figure. Because I've seen raccoons, being a hunter and all that at one time. I used to see all that out in the woods. And it was the size of a raccoon. They're pretty big. And he goes, you're right. It's got the big fluffy tail like one. It's got the facial feet. He goes, you're right. It's a raccoon, which would make sense to an elemental spirit appearing as all these different type of animals. And that's some of the things that the Dandy family actually experienced when they were living there. So there's definitely an elemental spirit there. There's also something else more negative there. I do believe it could be something potentially demonic, or it's a different elemental spirit that's much more negative, because I actually got kind of possessed by it for a short period, and I was going to punch one of my friends right in the face. And I had to step out of I actually ran out of the building because I was getting so angry with everybody in there, and I had no reason to be. It had to do with Steve Coles kind of bragging about how he called this thing out in the basement. And all of a sudden I started coughing, choking. Next thing I know, my thoughts are changing, which is when I think that thing kind of jumped into me, and it wanted to use me to punch Steve right in the face. So I ran out of that building, and I think somebody asked me, "Are you okay?" And I said, "No, I'm not." And Steve followed right behind me, and he actually did I had him do a blessing on me while we were outside. And then after probably 15 minutes or so, I was able to come back in. So yeah, there is an elemental there. There's also something else there, and there's a lot of stuff around there. There is burial mounds not far from there. They're not in the woods there like originally they said they were, but they are less than a mile away. There's Indian burial mounds less than a mile away. So I hope that answers your question, Barry. If you have more questions about that. I went down a little bit and it just jumped past everything. Okay. Bob's saying, he said, yeah, but that was not you. It was Fake Jack. Because I posted a picture of Fake Jack because the show was on today. I took a quick picture and I said, I got to post that. It's Fake Jack on TV. Yeah.
I love Fake Jack.
We all love Fake Jack. He's great. Fake Jack is great. That guy is actually a singer and songwriter. His name is Michael, I think McCollum, or Michael something. Anyways, he's a singer and songwriter. He's also an actor. And we joke a lot because he's a friend of the producer. And I joked with him. I said, hey, your buddy's career took off after he played me on Horror Case Files. He started laughing. He goes, yeah, he started doing a lot more acting right after he was playing you. I said, see, he has me to thank for that. So, it's a joke. It wasn't true, but maybe it was. Who knows? Steve White asked, Are you ready to investigate Oak Island? I have got the okay to do so. Just say the word. How did you get the okay to do so? I actually asked them, and I had no response at all. I told them what I'd be willing to do, and not for TV either. Geez, Steve, if you got how'd you get the okay to do that? I literally did ask them. And I had been talking to them about a few, and usually they answer my questions. I ask them questions about the show through the Facebook page. And when I mentioned that to them, I heard nothing back at all. So it's like, oh, damn it. They don't want me there. If you're serious, reach out to me, Steve. That's all I can tell you. If you're actually serious about that, reach out to me. I'm sure we would. I actually do plan to go up there just to go. Me and a guy from work, my friend from work, I've been talking for the last, 6 months now. We want to go up there just to go see the place, because it's not really that far. It's like, I think 12-hour drive, something like that. So it would be cool. So, but yeah, if reach out to me. That's all I can tell you. I don't know how he got an okay to go. I can't get one. They don't like me. Once you tell them I'm going though, they'll say, nah, never mind. No, you can't go. People talking Skinwalker Ranch. Yes, that's a new season, started last week. I thought it came out at 10, Barry, and not 9. But now that Oak Island is done with their season, maybe they did bump it up to 9, because it was on at 10 o'clock last week. Keith asked if anybody had experience with, I think he meant doppelganger. It's his doppelganger, but maybe that's how it pronounced it. But I thought in German it was doppelganger. And I haven't had an experience with one, but I have had a case that involved one. Actually, I haven't really gotten a chance to go down and do that case. It's down in not Tennessee, state up from Tennessee. I can't, a little bit to the west. But yeah, I had one. So if anybody has it, it'd be pretty cool to know if you had a case with doppelganger. Carly may have experienced that with her stuff she had going on.
Mm-hmm. It was a pain in the butt.
I can imagine. I'm reading something from Cheryl Brookshire. It's really long. I don't want to throw it up until. She's just talking about an experience she had. Very cool. And yes, it's always good to share your experiences out there. Very interesting, Cheryl. I'm glad you shared that with us. I see. Oh, my sister says salamanders are fire elementals. Oh, I used to find them often in the country. Yeah, we used to go catching them as kids. I remember even just down the woods, down the street. They like red wine and baked goods as offerings. Oh, interesting. I did not know that. But yeah, even certain types of animals or stuff can be considered elemental type spirits, or they were by the Indians, Native Americans. Let me see. I'm just going down the list. I have no answer to this one, Bob. If you have an attachment and die, does your spirit get snatched up by the attachment, or are you free to go? No idea. Haven't been there. Haven't done that. What do you think, Carly?
I think it depends on the attachment. So, like, if it's a demonic, and then yeah, you need to be spiritually protected.
Yeah.
But that goes into a whole other thing.
It could keep you from moving on. That is true.
Humans and elementals, I don't think so, because they just attach to you for energy. Like, you're their food source, kind of, in a way. Right. A human can't keep another spirit. See, that's a loaded question. Because also
I don't know if it's a loaded question. It's a question, but I don't know I can't tell you the answer to that. Because I have no way of knowing.
That's true. But I think you have to look at the type of spirit that it is. Like, if it's a weaker human spirit, it can't. But you know how humans can be. Like, they can bully, they can, like, hold people. Like, you can guilt someone into staying, of course, but they can't, like, I don't know.
I suppose they could hold you back from moving on. Yeah. Or if your will is stronger, then you can maybe drag them with you when you cross over.
Mm-hmm. Of course, if you sell your soul to Lucifer, then you got.
Well, that's not an attachment. That's a possession.
That's a whole thing. But
it's a good question, though. I like that question. It is, that's food for thought. I think that's one that's food for thought, and consideration of other types of hauntings, where there are houses that seem to be haunted by multiple people who live there. So maybe in that way, the house is keeping those people there. Yeah. And yes, Steve, we need to investigate together. We'll have to talk about that more. And Ken DeCust. Ken, we talked about this last night. I actually started talking about this earlier in the show, my show. Why are there no experts in the paranormal field? I'll show myself out. There are experts in the paranormal field. Of course there are. We just don't call them that. I believe there's experts in the paranormal field. I'm not referring to myself. There's people who I personally consider to be experts because of their years of work and knowledge. Ken actually happens to be one of those guys. And I may call them that and say, I gotta reach out to blah 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 because I know he's he's kind of an expert and he knows a lot of this stuff. So I mean, there's other people who are more knowledgeable than me that I'll reach out to that I just personally call that. I don't call them that to their face because I know a lot of them don't like it. I don't call myself that. I've been called that on television, but that's a whole nother thing. TV likes to call, and you have no choice in the matter when you're doing these shows. They call you a paranormal expert because they feel that gives their shows credibility. That the people they're having on are very knowledgeable in their field, and so they refer to them as experts. Ken and I were talking about that a little bit more today. That if you have expert witnesses in court, and it has nothing to do. If you look at what the definition of an expert witness is, it has to do. They only look at their breadth of experience, their knowledge of their field they study, and their credibility within the field they work in or do work in. So they don't look at, okay, this guy has a PhD, as this, they don't look at any of that. It's kind of arbitrary. It's open because they know they can have cases in court that don't involve, somebody with a degree, but they involve somebody with a lot of knowledge of a certain thing. So they call them expert witnesses. It's the way it is. So expert, accomplished investigator, seasoned investigator, whatever you want to call yourself. I don't care. I don't get stuck on a word. But it's a good topic of discussion, Ken. And I enjoyed that discussion last night. It was pretty funny. But it was also pretty serious. So, and I could see the other side of the coin from George. Let me see. Terry, our friend Terry Egan. How you doing out there, Terry?
Terry just got married.
Oh, is that right? When did I not? Why did I not see that? Congratulations, Terry. Recently, she says there was a murder-suicide not too far away from me. Is it a possibility that the victim does not rest when I drive past? It's heartbreaking. Is there a possibility that the victim does not rest? And then I think it's supposed to be a period there. When I drive by, it's heartbreaking. In murder, suicide kind of things, it is very possible that the spirit is confused. They haven't moved on. All those things are possible because it happens so quickly. Yeah. Right. So
it's very traumatic.
There's confusion even at the moment of it all going on. There's fear, there's anxiety. So there's all those things. I would hope they are able to move on, but sometimes they're not, and they need some help. But it takes time to figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes they need time too,
And sometimes they need time, and part of it becomes part their faith themselves, and if they're willing to accept the fact of what happened to them, even though it's tragic and horrible event, if a spirit who is just who the person was, the real who you are, your essence, your spirit, your soul, that's what we're talking about. If you can accept what happened to you and move on, I think once you cross over to the other side, you'll be much more at ease, and you can kind of move on to the next phase of things. But it takes a spirit a very long time to get over that because they weren't ready. They weren't ready to leave. They weren't expecting that to happen to them.
That was a non-consensual thing.
Right.
100%.
Right. You didn't know you were dying. You're about to die. All of a sudden, you're just dead because somebody killed you. And it's a horrible experience. So, because it usually doesn't happen instantaneously in murders. So we're talking about Skinwalker Ranch. To each other. And Michelle says she thinks if it's demonic, it will take you. But yeah, that's a whole another thing. That's with the attachment thing. But that's possessions or demonics are a whole other thing. Hey, here's a question from Steve White for you, Carly. Carly, was your gift of mediumship passed down? I think to you from your grandmother or mother. Sorry, I'm just really curious how people obtain this gift. So that question is for you.
Honestly, Steve, I have no idea. I was adopted at birth, and I got the wonderful opportunity when I was 13 years old to go meet her in Florida and talk to her and get to know her, and she ended up giving me a family heirloom. And shortly after that, her life started to get much better, and mine started going down the toilet. That was when my attachments popped up. So I've had my abilities like all my life. I have no idea if she had abilities of her own. She was an alcoholic, and I do say was, she is past now. She was a drug addict and an alcoholic, which is kind of a hint into that, because sometimes mediums and psychics will turn to substance abuse to dull the effects of their abilities because it just becomes so overwhelming. I have a long line of alcoholism and drug addiction in my family, so I do assume that it goes down my mother's side. I do know for a fact that my brother does have abilities as well, so and we kind of like it kind of like what I have he doesn't, and what he has I don't, so I don't know. It's I would love to know that. But I did talk to a family member on my dad's side, and he does not have any psychic abilities. That side of the family does not. So I do, and they've talked about it. They have. That was one of my weird questions I asked him. So I do assume that it comes from my mom's side. Yeah.
Yeah. I believe that. I believe that's why your mother turned to drugs and alcohol, because she didn't know how to deal with it, and she had nobody to help her deal with it. So, and when you hear and see spirits and stuff like that, that's freaky, man. So you can just
especially when
think you're
people
going
tell you that
crazy.
you're weird.
So you do what
especially
you
when
do
people
to
don't believe
silence
you.
the voices. You want to silence the voices. So you do turn to strange things to do that. And Michelle says we got ours from our mom, and that's absolutely true. It came from our mother because she was psychic herself. And Terry says she, as regards that, she hears crying coming from that location. That's hard to tell, even still, Terry. Even that could be residual just from what was going on and how horrendous it was. Doesn't necessarily mean it's the actual spirit there. We really have to investigate to try to figure that out. I wouldn't just make an assumption, because with that kind of energy and that kind of tragic energy, things can be left behind. Things like hearing crying, because they probably were. They're probably crying for their life, screams, different things, some of that stuff could be residual. You really would have to investigate it to figure it out. But hopefully that person isn't there. I would hope that they're not there, that their soul has moved on. And Bob Burnell asks, is your brother's name Monty?
No,
I know that. And I don't have a brother, so.
He's a very private person, so I'm not going to tell you who he is, just to keep his privacy, but I did actually get to meet him, and it was very awesome. So.
Right. And Renee Odell is that common to turn to self-medication if you have gifts? Yes, actually it is. Yep. Very much so, because unless you have somebody else in your family who has gifts, and like my mother did, like Shelley and our mother did, and she used to talk about it and tell us her experiences, stuff like that. So we had somebody to talk to about our own experiences. So, we had support with it. So we didn't, we really didn't do that. But a lot of people do, because they have nobody to talk to about it. They think they're just going crazy, and they're afraid to talk to anybody because they they feel people will think they're crazy and maybe, put them in an institution or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, a lot of people try to self-medicate to silence the voices, so to speak. You'd be surprised. Even some very well-known psychic mediums even do a bit of drinking to silence the voices at times. So I'm not going to...
I was in that position.
Well, I'm not talking about you, but I'm
No,
just,
I know, but I know what you're talking about, but it gets.
I mean, they're not alcoholics. Don't get me wrong.
No, right.
They do turn to drinking some wine and stuff like that to shut it off for a while.
Yeah.
Which is self-medicating in a way.
But yes.
And MJ says, I believe it is something that can be shared, passed on through family. It is. I think it's a genetic thing, actually. I think it has to do with genetics. I don't think it's something that's just arbitrary. I do think it has to do with your genetic makeup. And why you have, some people have tune into these abilities quicker than others. I think anybody can tune into the abilities. For some, it takes time. For others, it just comes natural.
Yeah, it's like a muscle.
And the ones that it comes natural to is the ones that can have problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Steve says, referring to residual hauntings, do you think it's possible for a spirit to see his own residual energy that he or she left behind? Well, if they're a spirit and they're in that location, it's not a residual haunting. So I'm not sure how to get that. I mean, there could be residual stuff going on. I don't know if they would see it.
So I actually have personal experience with that. So
okay, go ahead.
When my dad passed, my adoptive dad, he passed very suddenly of a heart attack in the middle of the night. And I was able to talk to him that night and a few months later to and talk to him about the experience and stuff, and we improved our relationship and stuff. But also, I would hear him coming up and down the stairs, but it wasn't him. It was his residual energy, because we would do it so often, and it was such a like you would be able to know that it was him, but he was already passed. But I would be able to see him in my room, and he wasn't coming up and down the stairs. So, but I never really asked him about that. Like, I just kind of went, oh, that was him coming up the stairs, like, we'll say, just over time. Like, I knew it was residual. So I didn't really be like, oh, hey, can you hear that? I kind of just was like, oh, whatever, it's nothing, and then just ignored it. But that's interesting. He never mentioned anything about that.
So maybe he wasn't aware of it.
Maybe.
And Bob Burnell says, and it just dawned on me why he asked, because he brought it up here. Monty Hall was a game show host. That's correct, Bob. It's an old show. Carly wouldn't know about that. I completely forgot about it. Now I know why he asked if your brother's name was Monty. It was a joke.
Oh.
Monty Hall.
I'm too short for that one. That went right over my head.
Well, yeah, it was. Well, you weren't around when Monty Hall was on TV either, so.
Oh.
You weren't even a thought in your mother's head.
No.
All right.
I could say a joke about that, but I'm not going to.
And Renee Odell Hart says, nothing wrong with a drink or two sometimes. Nope, there's nothing wrong with it. If it helps you deal with some of your abilities, that's okay. Just, you don't want to become an alcoholic. That's
no. Doctors actually say that a glass of wine a night is healthy for you. So.
Yes, that's true. And Barry March says, yes, it was it Let's Make a Deal. Yes, Monty Hall was Let's Make a Deal. You're right, Barry. Going back to that for a quick second. Renee says, as a follow-up to Steve's question, is it possible for a living person to be part of a residual haunting? Like something happened when they were a child and a child shows up in person. Yeah, I do believe that is possible. I mean, I would say that it is. Like for me, I've lived in this house all my life. So it's possible that I could experience my own residual haunting. And residual is just energy that's left behind. So, like me walking through the kitchen all the time, or going up and down the stairs to the bedrooms all the time. if I hear footsteps at night, that actually might be my own energy that I've left behind, because I've lived here for, well, I see it'll be going on 59 years. So
if anything, you might be a trigger for it, because
I could even trigger it. Yes,
it recognizes your own energy.
So in that particular case, I would say yes, it is a possibility. It is a possibility. I'm sure I will be leaving some residual energy behind, and there will be some residual haunting in this house. Maybe I'll come back and just haunt it just for the hell of it too. I don't know. Or kicking in the back. I did not kick in the back door, Michelle. That was our sister, Gail, that kicked in the back door. I had to lock her out because she was very mad, and I really think she would have killed me if she got a hold of me. Until she kicked in the back door panel. That door's not there anymore. And scared the hell out of both of us, because we knew Mom would kill us unless we fixed it. So we actually fixed it. And Ma didn't find out about it till years later. 10 years later. She noticed, she goes, "What's that crack in the door?" I said, "Oh, what?" "Oh, that happened 10 years ago, Mom." Gail and I, Gail kicked it in because I was locking her out of the house. "What?" "Yeah, that was 10 years ago." And believe it or not, people, we're at 9:02 p.m. already. Show's already going by. So I will say this. Thank you all again for coming by this week. We always enjoy having all of you. And we love answering your questions. That's what we are here for. That's what our show is about, is answering your questions of paranormal. If you're looking for any good books or anything like that, you can find all mine on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. In the search bar, just put in my name, Jack Kenna, and they will all come up, including my comic book. And I will answer Steve's last question when I'm done here with a minute. If you want to see any of the events coming up, go to my website, jackkenna.org. It's jackkenna.org. And you can find any upcoming events we have going on there. If you want to check out our Spirits Team site, you can go to spiritsofnewengland.org, spiritsofnewengland.org. And we have stuff there, and we list events coming up there. And you can see our whole Spirits of New England team there. If you need our help with anything, let us know. Carly, anything from you?
I have a tournament coming up this weekend on Saturday. So if you guys want to catch me there, it's twitch.tv/chaosjade, where you can watch me play Apex Legends professionally.
Yes. And support her with all that, because she's doing really great at it, and she's becoming a professional gamer. We may lose her in the paranormal world at some point. She'll be so famous in the other world that she'll have to give that her full-time thing. So, and that's okay. If that's what Carly wants to do with her life, that's a good thing, and I would support it with all my heart, which I have, because I've tried to give her everything she needs to do that the way she wants to. So I support her dreams. Steve White says the last thing is the last question. This is the last one I'm going to take for today. If we missed anybody, we'll get back to it. Have you guys ever had paranormal hangover, meaning after investigating, felt like totally drained? Yes, every single time.
Oh,
because
my God,
that's the energy we put into our investigations. We get a paranormal hangover every single time we investigate.
Drink plenty of water.
Energy into it. Plenty of water.
Plenty of water.
Plenty of whatever, and have a good breakfast the next day. That's all I'll say. And get some good sleep the next day, because you're going to need it. All right. Thank you all, and have a good night. And Linda Lou, I know you came in real late, but you can rewatch this. It's going to be up on the Facebook page. You can watch it again from the beginning. You can hear what we're talking about. And if you do have any questions, message us on Facebook directly, and we will answer your questions there. But you can rewatch our shows, any of our shows, on our YouTube channel. Paranormal Q&A with Jack Kenna and Carly Hall is our YouTube channel. Also, a lot of I'm slowly getting them all up there, but a lot of our previous episodes are now on Spotify. So you can listen to them on Spotify and hear the conversations. And again, if you have questions from any of those episodes that are up there, as I keep adding more, you keep listening to them, you can message us on Facebook here. So it's the easiest way to get a hold of us. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for listening. And good night, everybody. We love you all. And check us out on Spotify. It's the same thing. Paranormal Q&A with Jack, Kenna, and Carly Hall on Spotify. You can listen to us in your car on your way to work or on your travels. Good night, everybody. Love you all.